Hi guys, and welcome to Rufus and Doofus. Chico here this morning, and Rufus is out there taking his little jaunt through the field. Um, it's a Sunday morning. Uh, Rained like hell last night, but looks like it's going to be a nice hot day today. For those of you that have been following along, you know that I've been having this ongoing problem with my RV, um, which has all the characteristics of fuel starvation, and it's been fixed a couple times. We put two new fuel pumps in it, and the problem reoccurred again exactly 1 week ago, last Sunday. And excuse me. After that, on Monday morning, I returned it to the mechanic that replaced the fuel pump. Now, when I brought the RV to this gentleman the first time, I told him that there was a new fuel pump in there, and that I felt that there was another problem within the fuel system or somewhere else. But I mean, it's acting like a fuel problem. And he said that he was going to diagnose the problem, but he felt very confident and was adamant about the fact that it was a bad fuel pump again. And in the end, he had me reorder the fuel pump, send the old one back, and we put in a new one. Now, the interesting part about that starts to upset me a little bit, and I'll tell you the story of what's going on, is that when I got the bill, instead of just replacing the fuel pump, the labor for that, which by Ford is approximately an hour and a half worth of work, but a good mechanic can do it in less, and it was done in less the first time. Well, he charged me for over 4 hours of labor and put down on the bill that it was for diagnosis. And I'm sorry to say, but I really don't think there was much diagnosis. I think he was pretty adamant about the fuel pump, changed the fuel pump, and obviously the problem reoccurred. Well, make a long story short, that Monday, which would be a week ago tomorrow, I dropped off the RV and hoped that he would get to it quickly. Well, it turns out I went there on Tuesday because I was just happening to drive by, and he got upset that I showed up on Tuesday, and he told me, this isn't a scheduled repair. He didn't have it in his schedule. Well, he fixed it, and it didn't work. And I would think that, maybe that should go on the top of your list, being that you charged a ton of money and did the job and it didn't work out right. And, now you're telling me, well, you'll call me when it's done. I was a little set off by that, but I kept my mouth shut because he's got me by the whats, being that the vehicle really doesn't run, and he did the work, and I'm feeling as though, you know, give him the break and let him diagnose it again. And maybe this time he'll really diagnose it because I don't want to say anything, but I just don't think that he did a full diagnosis like he should have. So here it is, Sunday. He's had it since last Monday. No phone call, no nothing. Obviously, he hasn't touched it, or if he has, he hasn't found the problem. Um, my gripe is he going to hit me for more labor? Which, 4 hours, over 4 hours of labor the last time, which should have included, all the diagnostics, of pressure pump, checking the fuel line, checking voltages, checking relays, which he told me he did. I'm just, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what to think at this point. I'm really kind of upset about it. All my plans are screwed up because of this. Everything is on hold. Um, I haven't even attempted to sell other things that I have that are larger items because I don't want to, end up having this thing not work, and then I won't even have anything where I presently live to live with, like bed, stuff like that, big screen TV, which I can't fit in there, which is an older one, but still, if I get rid of it, then I got nothing. So, for those of you that have been following along, this has become a very big problem for me. And a lot of you guys, very nice of you all, are sending many, 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 many suggestions. I'm trying to answer as many comments as I can, but let me just say a few things that I know it's not. Um, I changed personally the plug wires and the plugs, so those are all brand new. Catalytic converter is free and clear, as is the rest of the exhaust. It is not a vapor lock problem. Um, so those things have been covered. The tank is clean. There's no residue in there. There's no nothing being picked up by the fuel filter, and also the pump that was changed that probably didn't need to be changed. The sock that was on the sending unit was very, very clean with no obstruction there. No physical damage to the old pump, nothing. I told the guy when I brought it over there the first time, I said, look, there's a brand new fuel pump in there. I said, I don't have any, fuel pressure gauges or anything, but I need to get that checked. And also, I have a suspicion that the fuel pressure regulator is failing. Now, a lot of people that I've talked to told me that the fuel pressure regulator is not failing. When they fail, they leak because of a compromised diaphragm in there, and usually the symptom is a rich running vehicle. Well, that's 90% of the time, but there is 10% of the time where the failure occurs because of a broken spring inside of the fuel pressure regulator, which in fact does not make it run rich, but makes it run lean. And that lean condition occurs when the throttle is depressed and the engine needs more gas. And because the spring is broken, the the regulator will not close, which prevents fuel from returning to the fuel tank. It just lets it go by. Obviously, the injectors can't get enough fuel, and therefore you get a lean condition. Normally, with a lean condition, there's a code thrown by the O2 sensor, but I'm not getting that. I don't know if I'm not getting it because the OBD1, which is an older version, just isn't that complicated and or sophisticated, I should say, and isn't giving me a code. But needless to say, I'm really, really, really upset. You guys have been following along. You know this has been a problem. Every time the fuel pump has been changed, it runs good for a little bit and then goes right back into this bucking and coughing and backfiring, which to me is a lean condition. Now, with the fuel pressure gauges, which I should have just invested in and gone and bought, I would have been able to pay for them 5 times for what he charged me the last time in that labor of 4 hours worth. So, I'm really ticked about that. But with the pressure gauges put on, the gauge should read about 40 some pounds when you turn the ignition on, and that's without anything running. And then once you start the engine, the vacuum at idle is the highest vacuum you're going to get on the engine, which should open the fuel regulator, fuel pressure regulator, allowing fuel to go to the tank, back to the tank, I should say, because the injectors don't require that much fuel at idle. So the pressure, let's say if it was 40 pounds with the engine off and the key on, when you start the engine, that vacuum probably will stay, or that pressure reading probably should stay where it is, maybe decrease slightly. When you remove the vacuum, what should happen is that the vacuum being gone on the fuel pressure regulator will cause it to close, thereby not letting as much gas go back to the fuel tank. The engine is still at idle. It's still not going to require a lot of fuel, but what we should see is maybe a 4 to 5 pound per square inch increase at that point. Now, when you put that vacuum thing back on, By the way, if that spring is broken, it's not going to happen. What's going to happen is the fuel is going to continue on to the tank. So that's one check that if he did and the fuel pressure did not move, then that would mean that the regulator is in fact not closing. I don't know if he did that test. I don't think he did. When you depress the gas, let's say wide open throttle, with the vacuum still on the regulator, at that point it's going to close, restricting the fuel going back to the tank. The pressure will increase slightly and then go back to normal. And I don't know if that's happening. So again, I wish I'd have spent that money on pressure gauges rather than paying for his diagnosis, which, in my opinion, wasn't successful for whatever reason. So that's where I'm at. I'm really kind of pissed. Here it is. It's like 7-8 days later. It's been sitting there. I don't know if he's done any work to it at all. He hasn't called me, hasn't done anything. And after that time, I stopped by on Tuesday morning, the day after I dropped it off. He had a really bad attitude, and I had all I could do to just keep my mouth shut because, like I say, he had me by the big ones, you know. So, a little pissed about that. What else did I want to tell you? Well, Rufus, he's doing all right, but not great. The weather down here is very hot, and I think that his allergies start to act up when the weather starts to get really hot and muggy. So extra special attention to him. I just ordered some stuff that was recommended by one of the vets called chlorhexidine, I believe it is, which kills just about every germ you can think of and fungus on the skin. So I want to make sure that we get his skin back to where we want it and continue with the meds and see what happens. But that's about Rufus, my little buddy. And if you take a look at him, you'll see there's some bare spots where he kind of licks himself and such. And pretty hard to keep him from licking himself. I wanted to put one of those collars around his head, but I don't know. I don't think he'd go for that too well. And he's just, you know, I would hate it if somebody did something like that to me and I couldn't scratch. Yeah, it'd probably drive me nuts. So, that's it about the RV. Really, really getting depressed about this. It's just crazy. I mean, it's not a complicated system. If it's not in the fuel system, by this time you would think that we should have gotten some sort of information from the onboard computer, even though it's an OBD1. We're not. And, you know, checking voltages and such with the scanner, there does not seem to be an ignition problem whatsoever. The onboard computer is not screwing up, I don't believe, and I really think that just from the way it runs at idle and the way it has run when it does run, the things that the computer controls are within spec. Otherwise we'd be throwing codes left and right. But this problem is very consistent. It's always the same thing. And my money, just so you guys know, and it's been this way, or my thought for a long time, is that the fuel pressure regulator is the culprit. So if I'm right, I mean, you know, I think the guy should have caught it a long time ago. But that's me. So I'm going to leave you with that. It's not a great video, I know. I mean, it's just me complaining and bitching again. But damn, I mean, this thing is driving me nuts. I can't do anything. The vehicle gets stuck in the garage there for, you know, weeks at a time, and then when I get it back, it doesn't run. Well, you can just imagine what it's like trying to plan leaving and not having a vehicle that wants to cooperate. And the fact that it, you know, it's happened now so many times that if I get on the road and this happens on the road, I'm screwed. So, got to get it taken care of, folks. And again, I really appreciate all your comments. I wish I could give you a list of the things that I've done on this thing. Fuel filters have been changed. All that stuff has all been done. The only thing that hasn't been done is that fuel pressure regulator. That's the one thing that has not been done. and I think it needs to be done. It's not an expensive part. It's $30. It's a 5-minute job to replace. I should have done it when I had it, but after paying that man to do the work and it wasn't working, I didn't think it was for me to go there and replace that fuel regulator. And then he could have blamed, oh well, you did this after that. No, right now it's still his work. Haven't touched anything, and he needs to check that fuel pressure regulator. So, right, Rufus, buddy, are you anxious to get on the road? Look at you, you even got a little red eye. All right, guys, have a wonderful day. I'll try and keep you up to date. I didn't do a video earlier than this because there just wasn't anything to tell you. So, that's it. Bye-bye.